Welcome to Star Lens, your trusted source for exclusive royal news and breaking stories. I'm bringing you an absolutely explosive investigation today about what British intelligence knew about Meghan Markle before she married Prince Harry. This is information that was never meant to see the light of day. Before we begin this shocking report, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our daily royal coverage. This is Star Lens, and let's dive into this classified story. This is the story of what British intelligence knew about Meghan Markle before the engagement, before the wedding, and before the world was told. A modern fairy tale had begun. There are names that aren't supposed to come back once the doors closed behind them. Names that belong to sealed files, locked hallways, and conversations whispered only between people who never speak on record. Ghislaine Maxwell is one of those names. And when a name like that reappears, when it's connected not to the past, but to a future that already happened, it changes the weight of everything that follows. Because this story is not about gossip. It is not about opinion. It is not about looking back. It is about what was already known, what was formally written down, and what was deliberately ignored. And once you understand what was in that file, the devastation stops looking accidental. In October of 2016, deep inside Britain's domestic intelligence system, a file was completed that the public was never meant to see. It didn't come from a tabloid newsroom. It didn't come from palace gossip. It came from the section of the security service responsible for protecting the royal household itself. The trigger was simple and automatic. Prince Harry had entered a confirmed romantic relationship with an American actress named Meghan Markle. The pace alone set off alarms. 3 meetings in just 8 weeks, one of them overseas. That was enough to activate a standing rule from 1998 requiring mandatory vetting of any foreign national moving into closeness with the crown. This wasn't optional. It wasn't personal. It was procedure. The resulting briefing was classified at a level known internally as Delta, a compartment so restricted it was meant for only a handful of people: the Queen, the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary, and the Director General of MI5. The file carried a simple internal description, unusually blunt. From the very first pages, the assessment made clear this was not a routine background check. It was a warning. If you're shocked by what you're hearing, don't forget to subscribe to Star Lens for more exclusive investigations like this one. Inside intelligence vetting, there are many shades of concern, but category red sits at the top. It does not mean problematic. It does not mean difficult. It means high risk with a capacity to cause damage that spreads outward and cannot easily be contained. MI5's assessment classified Meghan Markle as a category red personality risk. The language used was precise. Left unmitigated, she was capable of causing strategic-level reputational damage to the monarchy itself within a forecast window of 36 to 60 months, not years, not decades, months. The recommendation that followed was equally direct. She should not be cleared for formal integration into the royal family. This wasn't about whether she was kind or cruel. It wasn't about whether she loved Prince Harry. Intelligence services don't evaluate emotions. They evaluate patterns, leverage, and impact. And what they saw was a path they recognized all too well. To understand why the warning was so strong, the file turned to psychology. Years before meeting Prince Harry, Meghan Markle had consulted a psychiatric practice in Los Angeles. Between 2014 and 2015, that information became part of a secret psychological profile commission during the vetting process. The results were clinical, not emotional. The assessment identified cluster B personality traits with pronounced narcissistic and histrionic features scoring in the 89th percentile. But the most important finding wasn't the label. It was the pattern. Again and again, her personal relationships follow the same cycle. Idealize, devalue, discard. 7 former close friends were cited. 1 former partner. Each relationship ended not quietly but suddenly, often after perceived slights. The profile noted an unusually high need for external validation combined with acute sensitivity to criticism. In simple terms, the file described someone who thrived on admiration and reacted explosively when it faded. For intelligence analysts, this wasn't theory. It was a roadmap, a warning that when pressure arrived, escalation would follow. And according to the file, pressure was not a question of if, It was a question of when. After the psychological assessment, the file moved into a category intelligence services treat with particular seriousness. Not wealth, not success, but opacity. In 2013, Meghan Markle incorporated an offshore entity in the British Virgin Islands. The company was used to receive acting residuals and endorsement income. On paper, that alone wasn't illegal. But in intelligence, vetting offshore structures immediately raised questions, not because they are criminal, but because they obscure visibility. The beneficial owner of the company was redacted in the briefing. What followed was more concerning. In March of 2016, a cash deposit totaling $450,000 appeared in a Toronto bank account linked to Meghan Markle. The source of the funds was unknown. Canadian financial authorities flagged the transaction and the Toronto Police Financial Crimes Unit opened a file. Then something unusual happened. The investigation was closed after a single phone call from the United States Embassy press attach. No explanation was recorded. No source was identified. The money remained unexplained. For MI5 analysts, this wasn't proof of wrongdoing, but it was proof of intervention. And intervention without transparency is its own form of risk. Stay tuned to Star Lens. As we continue to uncover this classified information, the briefing then widened its lens. Intelligence services rarely look at individuals in isolation. They look at who surrounds them, who grants access, and who opens doors without leaving fingerprints. Meghan Markle was a regular attendee at private social events hosted through Soho House. These gatherings were not casual mixers. They were carefully curated environments where cultural figures, political aides, and international operators crossed paths under the cover of lifestyle branding. One of the key facilitators of these events was noted in the file as someone who arranged introductions as part of cultural diplomacy efforts. In plain terms, these were rooms where influence was exchanged quietly. The file also documented sustained correspondence between Meghan Markle and Jessica. The connection itself was not the issue. What mattered was proximity. Moran's family ties intersected with a Commonwealth Development Organization that had received discreet pass-through funding from the U.S. State Department. Then there was timing. In May of 2016, Meghan Markle attended a private dinner in Toronto with a senior political aide closely connected to Canada's Prime Minister. That same week, she publicly hinted at moving to London for love. MI5 did not describe this as coordination. It described it as alignment. And alignment when repeated stops looking random. The final layer of concern had nothing to do with money or politics. It had to do with control of narrative. Between 2013 and 2015, Meghan Markle purchased 47 Twitter accounts each with established follower bases ranging from 20,000 to 80,000 users. At the time of the briefing, all accounts were dormant, but still intact, still functional, and capable of rapid activation. To intelligence analysts, dormant assets are not inactive, they're reserved. More revealing still was her decision to retain a crisis public relations firm in January of 2016, 6 months before meeting Prince Harry. The firm specialized in managing reputational crises for high-profile clients. It operated on a monthly retainer. This wasn't reaction, it was readiness. The file made no claim that these tools were misused. But it made one thing clear. Long before Meghan Markle entered royal life, she had already built the machinery needed to survive and shape conflict on a global scale. By the time the palace began preparing her for public life, she had already prepared herself. Make sure you're subscribed to Star Lens so you don't miss any part of this investigation. By the time the world was told, Prince Harry had fallen in love. The file already contained a quiet detail that changed the shape of the story. In November of 2015, nearly a year before the relationship became public, Meghan Markle initiated a private Instagram exchange with a member of Prince Harry's protection team. The message was phrased hypothetically, polite, casual. She asked how difficult it might be to arrange a private introduction. The officer declined. The approach went no further. It was never escalated up the chain of command, but it was recovered later during a separate phone seizure and logged in the intelligence record. No accusation was attached to it. No motive was assigned. It was simply noted. And with that single entry, the mythology of coincidence quietly collapsed. In October of 2016, MI5 finalized what it called a threat forecast. It did not speculate about motives. It did not dramatize outcomes. It outlined sequence. First, there would be a surge of positive media coverage. The press would frame Meghan Markle as a breath of fresh air, a symbol of progress, a modernizing force inside an ancient institution. That phase would last between 18 and 24 months. Then the tone would shift. Behind the scenes, staff complaints would begin to surface quietly at first, then with increasing frequency. The file noted early echoes of this pattern already present in accounts from television. Production crews she had previously worked with. As pressure mounted, the forecast warned of a near-inevitable turn toward identity-based narratives, particularly the foregrounding of race. When strategically advantageous, the final phase carried two likely endpoints: either a personal scandal with global reach or a controlled separation that preserved titles while converting status into commercial leverage. The language was unemotional. The sequence was precise. The recommendation that followed was equally restrained. Slow the relationship through. Administrative friction until interest cooled. None of it was followed. The Delta-level briefing was delivered personally to the Queen in November of 2016, years later after his retirement. One sentence from that margin would surface explaining everything. "My grandson is lonely. One cannot vet for love." 5 forces converged to override the file. The first was history. The institution still carried the weight of 1997. Inside palace walls, there was a lingering belief that excessive caution had helped drive Princess Diana away. The Queen, now in her 90s, was determined not to repeat that story. The second was emotional leverage. In a private audience in December 2016, Prince Harry reportedly delivered a quiet ultimatum. If forced to choose between Meghan and the family, he made clear which path he would take. The third was politics. Britain was months away from triggering British English. Senior government figures believed a glamorous biracial American duchess would serve as a powerful symbol in Commonwealth realms during a moment of uncertainty. The fourth was belief. Elizabeth II had spent decades watching outsiders bend to the institution. She believed the crown absorbed people, neutralized excess, smoothed sharp edges, and finally there was a wager. Give her time, give her children, give her duty. The institution would do the rest. In January of 2017, a compromise was reached behind closed doors. A prenuptial agreement was embedded quietly into the Royal Marriages Act consent. Any future financial settlement would be capped. TEL interviews in the United States would be prohibited for 15 years. In exchange, the wedding would go ahead. Intelligence services were instructed not to disengage, but to observe. Permanent technical coverage of the couple's communications was authorized. That coverage would remain active years later, producing terabytes of data stored at a secure government facility. The file was sealed. The wedding was celebrated, and within 3 years, the monarchy was bleeding legitimacy across multiple realms. Prince Harry was estranged. Meghan Markle was living in California with 2 titled children and the permanent ability to ignite a global news cycle at will. In 2021, the Delta compartment that once held the original warning was quietly renamed Lesson Learned. But inside Windsor Castle in a locked drawer, there remained one photograph the Queen kept on her desk until the day she died. It showed Harry and Meghan on the palace balcony in 2018. Both smiling, both believing the story would end differently. On the back of the photo, written in her own hand, were 4 words: "I should have listened." And that is where this story ends for now. Not because the file is empty, but because the consequences are still unfolding. That concludes today's exclusive classified investigation on StarLens. This has been one of the most shocking files we've ever brought to light. If this story left you speechless, please hit that like button and subscribe to Royal Daily. Report for more exclusive royal investigations and breaking news every single day. Share this video with anyone who needs to know the truth about what really happened behind palace walls. We'll be back tomorrow with more explosive royal revelations. Until then, this is StarLens, bringing you the stories they don't want you to know. Thank you for watching and stay informed.